Welcome, listener, to Audiobook Summary. Misbelief. What Makes Rational People Believe Irrational Things by Dan Ariely. Introduction. A personal descent into a parallel universe. Imagine waking up one day to find yourself cast as the villain in a sprawling conspiracy theory. Your face, your voice, your name, but not your truth, plastered across the internet, accusing you of masterminding global schemes with the likes of Bill Gates and the Illuminati. This is where Dan Ariely, a renowned behavioral economist and professor at Duke University, begins his journey in misbelief. What makes rational people believe irrational things? What starts as a deeply personal and bewildering experience becomes a profound exploration of why rational people embrace irrational beliefs and how these misbeliefs shape our world. In July 2020, Ariely receives a cryptic email from a former acquaintance, Sharon, accusing him of greed and betrayal. Confused, he follows the links she sends, plunging into a parallel universe where he's portrayed as the chief consciousness engineer of a supposed COVID-19 fraud, collaborating with shadowy elites to control populations through vaccines and surveillance. The accusations are absurd. Ariely's work with governments focused on practical issues like mask-wearing incentives and domestic violence reduction, and his connection to Bill Gates was limited to a brief project on childhood nutrition. Yet, thousands of people, including some who once respected him, believe these lies. Videos manipulate his speeches, splicing words to paint him as a Nazi-like figure. His half-beard, a symbol of his survival from a teenage burn injury, is twisted into evidence of devilish intent. Ariely's initial reaction is disbelief, then anger. He tries to reason with his accusers, calling one, Sarah, who demands he confess to globalist plots. The conversation fails. She's recording him, twisting his words to fuel her narrative. On Telegram, his attempts to clarify his work are met with a swarm of hateful comments. His books are burned, his family threatened. The pain is visceral, but so is his curiosity. As a social scientist who studies human irrationality, Ariely can't help but ask, why me? Why do people believe these things? And why now? This audiobook summary takes you through Ariely's quest to understand the funnel of misbelief, a psychological process that pulls people into irrational beliefs and offers tools to navigate a world increasingly fractured by mistrust. Chapter 1. The Funnel of Misbelief. Picture yourself standing at the edge of a vast, spiraling funnel, its walls shimmering with whispers of doubt, fear, and certainty. You don't leap in. You're drawn in, step by step, until the world outside feels like a distant memory. This is the funnel of misbelief, a psychological vortex that Dan Ariely introduces in Misbelief. What makes rational people believe irrational things? We'll journey through the funnel's mechanics, learn how to recognize its pull, and discover practical steps to resist it, all woven through stories that bring its power to life. The funnel's anatomy, a slow descent. Ariely's funnel of misbelief isn't a trap that snaps shut. It's a gradual slide, fueled by four forces: emotional, cognitive, personality, and social, that exploit our human wiring. Imagine it like a whirlpool, pulling you deeper with each turn. It begins with a spark of unease, perhaps a moment of stress or betrayal, and ends with a worldview so entrenched it feels like truth itself. Ariely compares it to obsessive-compulsive disorder. A belief offers relief, but that relief demands more belief, creating a cycle that's hard to escape. For Ariely, the funnel's pull became personal in July 2020. A cryptic email from Sharon, a former colleague, accused him of betraying humanity. Links led to videos portraying him as a puppet master in a global COVID-19 conspiracy, his words twisted to suggest he engineered vaccines for control. The absurdity stung. His work was about nudging people toward better choices, like wearing masks or eating healthier, not world domination. Yet thousands believed it. Why? Because the funnel had already begun its work, and Ariely was its target. How it works? The four forces. Let's break down the funnel's forces, starting with emotion. Stress, especially the unpredictable kind, is the funnel's ignition. During COVID-19, the world was a pressure cooker. Lockdowns, job losses, and health fears left people desperate for control. Ariely cites research showing stress shrinks cognitive bandwidth, making us crave simple explanations. Enter the villain narrative. Blaming someone like Aurelie or institutions like the WHO feels empowering. It's not chaos. It's a plan, and you've cracked the code. Cognitively, the funnel thrives on our brain's shortcuts. Confirmation bias nudges us to seek evidence that fits our fears, ignoring contradictions. Aurelie describes a misbeliever, Mark, who sent him a video claiming vaccines caused infertility. The video was slick, citing studies, but lacked credible sources. When Aurelie pointed this out, Mark dismissed him, citing distrust in mainstream science. This is the funnel's cognitive trap. Once you're in, every counterargument becomes proof of a cover-up. Personality traits add fuel. Some people, Aurelie notes, are wired for patternicity, seeing connections where none exist. His accusers saw his half-beard, a scar from a teenage burn injury, as a sinister symbol. Those high in magical ideation or narcissism are especially vulnerable, craving unique knowledge to feel special. Finally, the social element seals the deal. Online communities, from Telegram to Reddit, offer belongingness, reinforcing misbeliefs through likes, shares, and shared outrage. Aurelie's attempts to clarify his work on Telegram were drowned out by a chorus of "he's lying." The group's cohesion demanded loyalty to the narrative. Examples: the funnel in action. To see the funnel at work, consider Lisa, a fictional but representative character based on Aurelie's research. Lisa, a single mother in 2020, lost her job during lockdowns. Stressed and isolated, she scrolled social media for answers. A post about vaccine microchips caught her eye. It explained why life felt so wrong. Emotionally, the idea gave her a villain, Big Pharma, to blame. Cognitively, she found videos proving chips existed, ignoring debunking articles as propaganda. Her personality, prone to seeing hidden meanings, made the theory compelling. Socially, a Facebook group welcomed her, celebrating her awakening. Within weeks, Lisa was deep in the funnel, sharing posts that vilified scientists like Aurelie. Or take a real-world case, the QAnon movement. Born in 2017 on 4chan, Cannon's vague posts about a deep state tapped into widespread distrust. Followers, stressed by political polarization, found emotional relief in decoding Q drops. Cognitively, they wove news events into elaborate narratives, dismissing contradictions. Personality traits like pattern-seeking fueled their obsession with connecting dots. Socially, QAnon communities on platforms like Parler became families, ostracizing doubters. By 2021, millions believed in a cabal of elite pedophiles, a misbelief that stormed the U.S. Capitol. How to resist? Practical steps. Aurelie's funnel is powerful, but it's not inevitable. Here are 3 hopefully helpful steps to recognize and counter its pull, each grounded in his insights. Pause and reflect on stress. The funnel thrives on emotional turbulence. When you feel overwhelmed, pause. Ask, am I reacting to stress? Aurelie suggests journaling to identify triggers. For Lisa, writing about her job loss might have revealed her vulnerability to villain narratives. Try it. Next time a theory grabs you, note your emotional state. Are you angry, scared, betrayed? Naming the emotion can loosen the funnel's grip. Question your evidence. Cognitively, the funnel loves cherry-picked facts. Aurelie recommends the Socratic method. Ask yourself, what evidence supports this? What contradicts it? Test your sources. Do they hold up under scrutiny? When Mark sent Aurelie the vaccine video, a quick check revealed its flaws. Practice this. If you see a claim online, search for primary sources or ask, could this be too good or bad to be true? Intellectual humility, admitting you might be wrong, keeps you grounded. Seek diverse voices. Socially, the funnel isolates you in echo chambers. Break free by engaging with people outside your bubble. Aurelie tried this with misbelievers, joining their chats to listen, not argue. Some softened when he shared his burn injury story, humanizing himself. You can too. Follow X accounts with opposing views or join a local club to hear different perspectives. Connection beyond your tribe weakens the funnel's hold. A broader lens, why it matters. The funnel of misbelief isn't just about conspiracy theories. It's about how we navigate a world awash in information. Aurelie's own journey shows its stakes. Branded a villain, he faced threats, yet his curiosity led to understanding, not hate. He learned that misbelievers aren't crazy. They're human, driven by needs we all share: control, certainty, belonging. Recognizing the funnel in ourselves, when we cling to a political stance or distrust a neighbor, empowers us to step back. One vivid example lingers. Arlie describes a misbeliever, Sarah, who called him, demanding he confess to globalist plots. He listened, asking about her life. She revealed her fear of losing her kids to a corrupt system. That moment of empathy didn't change her mind, but it opened a crack of trust. It's a reminder. The funnel pulls us apart, but human connection can pull us back. The funnel of misbelief is a force we all face, a shadow of our need to make sense of a chaotic world. Arlie's framework: emotional stress, cognitive biases, personality traits, and social tribes, reveals its mechanics, but also its weaknesses. By pausing to reflect, questioning our evidence, and seeking diverse voices, we can resist its pull. Lisa, Mark, even Sarah, they're not lost causes, and neither are we. The funnel is strong, but our capacity for curiosity and empathy is stronger. As Arlie learned, understanding misbelief isn't just about saving others. It's about saving ourselves from a world divided by mistrust. Chapter 2. Emotional Elements, Stress, and the Search for Villains. Imagine a world on edge, where every headline feels like a punch, every uncertainty a weight on your chest. In this crucible of stress, the human heart seeks answers. Not just any answers, but ones that soothe, that point a finger, that promise control. This is the emotional engine of the funnel of misbelief. We'll plunge into the role of stress and the human need to find villains, uncover practical ways to counter their pull, and meet stories that show how emotions can lead rational minds astray. The spark of stress, a universal trigger. At the heart of the funnel of misbelief lies emotion, and no emotion is more potent than stress. Arlie describes stress as a thief, stealing our mental clarity and leaving us vulnerable to simple, satisfying narratives. During the COVID-19 pandemic, stress was everywhere. Lockdowns trapped families indoors, jobs vanished, and the virus loomed like an invisible predator. Arlie, a behavioral economist, felt this too, but his stress took a surreal turn in July 2020. An email from Sharon, a former acquaintance, accused him of orchestrating a global conspiracy. Links led to videos painting him as a villain, his words spliced to suggest he plotted with Bill Gates to control humanity. The accusations were ludicrous. His work focused on practical solutions, like encouraging mask wearing. Yet, the emotional weight of being demonized was crushing. Why did Sharon, and thousands like her, believe these lies? Arlie turns to science. Stress, especially unpredictable stress, narrows our cognitive bandwidth, a concept he calls the scarcity mindset. Research shows that when we're overwhelmed, our brains crave shortcuts. Complex truths, like a virus's unpredictable spread, feel unsatisfying. Instead, we seek villains, someone to blame for the chaos. This is the proportionality bias. Big problems demand big culprits. A global pandemic? It can't be random. It must be the work of elites, scientists, or, in Arlie's case, a bearded professor with a knack for behavioral nudges. The villain narrative, a seductive relief. The search for villains is deeply human. Arlie recounts how his manipulated speeches, like one where he jokingly suggested slowing ambulances to cut costs, were twisted to portray him as a heartless mastermind. His half-beard, a scar from a teenage burn injury, was spun into a symbol of devilish intent. Why did this resonate? Because villains simplify. Blaming Arlie, Gates, or Fauci gave misbelievers a target, a story that restored a sense of control. As Arlie notes, humans are wired to attribute intention to suffering. Randomness is unbearable, but a bad guy is something we can fight. This emotional pull isn't just about pandemics. Arlie shares a broader example, the 2008 financial crisis. Millions lost homes and savings, and the complexity of subprime mortgages was dizzying. Enter the villain narrative, greedy Wall Street bankers. While some culpability was real, the narrative ballooned, with conspiracy theories blaming secret cabals or even foreign governments. The emotional relief of pointing a finger was palpable, even if it oversimplified the truth. Examples: stress and villains in action. To see the emotional funnel at work, Meet James, a fictional character inspired by Aurelie's observations. James, a factory worker in 2020, faced furloughs and a sick parent during COVID-19. Sleepless, he doom-scrolled X, stumbling on a post claiming vaccines were a government plot to sterilize populations. The idea hit like a lifeline. His stress wasn't just bad luck, it was a scheme. Emotionally, blaming elites gave him a foe to rally against. He shared the post, feeling a rush of agency. Soon, he was deep in anti-vaccine groups, vilifying scientists like Aurelie. James wasn't irrational. He was human, his stress exploited by a narrative that promised answers. Or consider a real-world case, the anti-vaccine movement during COVID-19. Fueled by pandemic stress, figures like Robert F. Kennedy Jr. gained traction, claiming vaccines were a big pharma conspiracy. Followers, overwhelmed by lockdowns and distrustful of institutions, found relief in this villain narrative. A 2021 study found that 20% of Americans believed vaccines contain microchips, a misbelief rooted in emotional need, not evidence. Aurelie's own vilification fit this pattern. His work with governments made him a convenient scapegoat for those seeking someone to blame. How to counter the emotional pull, practical steps. Aurelie's insights aren't just diagnostic, they're prescriptive. Here are 3 hopefully helpful steps to resist the emotional funnel, each grounded in his research and experience. Name your stress. The first step is awareness. Stress clouds judgment, but naming it can clear the fog. Aurelie suggests a simple exercise. When you feel drawn to a dramatic narrative, pause and ask, what's stressing me out? Write it down: job loss, health fears, loneliness. For James, recognizing his furlough anxiety might have slowed his dive into conspiracy posts. Try it. Next time a villain narrative tempts you, journal your emotions. Clarity reduces the need for scapegoats. Practice deep canvassing. Engaging with misbelievers requires empathy, not argument. Aurelie learned this when he called Sarah, a misbeliever accusing him of globalist plots. Instead of debating, he listened, asking about her fears. She shared her worry for her kids, and the conversation softened, even if her beliefs didn't change. Deep canvassing, listening to understand, not refute, builds trust. You can practice this. When someone shares a wild theory, ask, what makes you feel that way? Reflect their emotions back. It's not about winning, it's about connection. Redirect emotional energy. Stress seeks an outlet, but villain narratives aren't the only one. Aurelie suggests channeling emotions into constructive actions, like volunteering or learning a skill. After his vilification, he poured his frustration into research, turning pain into insight. For you, it could be joining a community group or fact-checking a claim before sharing it. Redirecting energy breaks the cycle of blame. Ask, what can I do to feel in control without pointing fingers? A deeper truth: emotions connect us. The emotional funnel is powerful, but it reveals a profound truth. Misbelievers aren't other. They're us, under different pressures. Aurelie's story drives this home. Vilified as a conspirator, he felt the sting of being a scapegoat, yet he chose empathy over anger. When he engaged with his accusers, some became anthropological guides, revealing the fears behind their beliefs. One, a man named Tom, admitted he clung to vaccine conspiracies because he felt powerless after losing his business. That vulnerability was a bridge, a reminder that emotions, even misdirected ones, connect us. This matters beyond conspiracies. We all seek villains in moments of stress. Maybe it's a coworker we blame for a failed project, or a politician we demonize for society's woes. Recognizing this instinct helps us pause, reflect, and choose understanding over division. Aurelie's own transformation, from targeted professor to curious listener, shows the way. Closing the chapter. The emotional elements of the funnel of misbelief, stress, and the search for villains are a siren call, luring us with the promise of control in a chaotic world. Aurelie's journey, from vilified scholar to empathetic guide, reveals their power and their antidote. By naming our stress, practicing deep canvassing, and redirecting emotional energy, we can resist the pull of blame and build bridges instead. James, Sarah, Tom, they're not lost to the funnel, and neither are we. Emotions drive us apart, but they can also draw us together if we listen with open hearts. In a world fractured by mistrust, That's a start worth making. Chapter 3. Cognitive Elements. Seeking the Truth We Want. Imagine your mind as a detective, not an impartial one, but a biased sleuth cherry-picking clues to fit a story you already believe. This is the cognitive machinery of the funnel of misbelief, as Dan Ariely unveils in Misbelief. What makes rational people believe irrational things? Our brains, wired to seek certainty, often betray us, leading us to embrace truths that feel right rather than those that are right. We'll navigate the cognitive traps that pull us into irrational beliefs, learn practical ways to outsmart them, and meet stories that reveal how even the sharpest minds can fall prey to the truths they want. The cognitive funnel, a mind's betrayal. The funnel of misbelief, Ariely explains, is a psychological spiral, and its cognitive arm is particularly insidious. It exploits our brain's shortcuts, confirmation bias, the illusory truth effect, and the illusion of explanatory depth to lock us into beliefs that resist scrutiny. In July 2020, Ariely found himself ensnared in this trap, not as a believer, but as a target. An email from a former colleague, Sharon, led him to a digital rabbit hole where he was cast as a conspiratorial mastermind. Videos manipulated his speeches, splicing words to prove he was behind a COVID-19 fraud. His real work, designing incentives for mask-wearing or reducing domestic violence, was irrelevant. The believers saw what they wanted, a villain. Why did they cling to this fiction? Ariely, a behavioral economist, points to our cognitive wiring. Confirmation bias drives us to seek evidence that supports our beliefs, dismissing contradictions. The illusory truth effect makes repeated falsehoods feel familiar, thus true. And the illusion of explanatory depth convinces us we understand complex issues, like vaccines or economics, when our knowledge is paper-thin. These biases, amplified by stress and social echo chambers, make the funnel's cognitive pull nearly irresistible. Confirmation bias, the selective detective. Confirmation bias is the funnel's star player. Ariely recounts his interaction with Mark, a misbeliever who emailed him a video claiming COVID vaccines contain magnetic chips. The video, narrated by Jane Ruby, a self-styled expert, showed metal sticking to vaccinated arms, touting magnetofection as proof of surveillance tech. Ariely debunked it. The sample was tiny, controls absent, and the science nonsensical. But Mark was unmoved, citing distrust in Big Pharma and cherry-picking anecdotes from ex-posts. His mind was a detective, collecting only the clues that fit his case. This isn't unique to conspiracies. Ariely shares a lighter example, his own obsession with a new coffee maker. Convinced it was the best, he scoured reviews that praised its features, ignoring complaints about its durability. Only after it broke did he realize his bias. We all do this, whether it's politics, diets, or gadgets, seeking the truth we want, not the truth that is. The illusion of understanding, false confidence. The illusion of explanatory depth compounds the problem. Ariely illustrates this with a bicycle exercise. Ask someone to explain how a bike works, and most falter, despite thinking they know. Misbelievers exhibit this with vaccines, confidently claiming they cause infertility or autism, yet unable to explain virology or epidemiology. Their certainty comes from shallow knowledge, propped up by slick videos and social proof. Ariely faced this with a Telegram group that attacked his work. They knew he was a globalist, citing his speeches, but couldn't engage with his actual research. Their confidence was a mirage. The illusory truth effect seals the deal. Repeated exposure to a claim, like vaccines are dangerous, makes it feel true, even if it's baseless. Ariely notes how anti-vaccine memes, shared thousands of times on X, gain traction through repetition, not evidence. This cognitive trio, confirmation bias, false confidence, and familiarity, turns the funnel into a cognitive echo chamber. Examples: the cognitive funnel at work. Meet Sarah, a fictional character drawn from Ariely's observations. Sarah, a teacher in 2020, was skeptical of COVID vaccines. Stressed by remote teaching, she stumbled on a YouTube video claiming vaccines altered DNA. Confirmation bias kicked in. She searched for similar videos, ignoring peer-reviewed studies. The illusion of explanatory depth made her feel expert after watching a few exposés. Repeated posts on X about vaccine dangers felt true, thanks to the illusory truth effect. Soon, Sarah was sharing anti-vaccine content, convinced she'd uncovered a truth the mainstream hid. Her mind wasn't irrational. It was human, trapped in a cognitive loop. A real-world case amplifies this: the 5G conspiracy theory. In 2020, posts on platforms like Reddit linked 5G towers to COVID-19, claiming they weakened immune systems. Believers, distrustful of telecoms, sought evidence, like maps showing tower locations near outbreak zones. Their confidence in understanding 5G technology was shallow. Few could explain radio frequencies, but repetition of the theory online made it feel true. The result? Vandalized towers and protests, driven by cognitive biases run amok. How to counter cognitive traps, practical steps. Irrational insights offer a way out. Here are 3 hopefully helpful steps to resist the cognitive funnel, grounded in his research and experience. Seek contradictory evidence. Confirmation bias thrives on selective attention. Irrational suggests a deliberate challenge. Actively search for evidence that contradicts your beliefs. When he engaged with Mark, he asked, "What would change your mind?" It didn't sway Mark, but it planted a seed. Try it. If you lean toward a theory, say, a diet's miracle cure, Google its criticisms. Write down one opposing fact. This small act of intellectual humility can loosen bias's grip. Test your understanding. The illusion of explanatory depth fades when you explain something aloud. Irrational recommends the explain it like I'm 5 technique. Describe a belief in simple terms. If you struggle, you don't understand it. Sarah might have paused if she tried explaining DNA-altering vaccines to a friend. Practice this. Next time you're sure of a claim, teach it to someone or write it out. Gaps in your knowledge will surface, nudging you toward real learning. Limit repetition exposure. The illusory truth effect grows with repetition. Irrational advises curating your information diet. Unfollow accounts that spam unverified claims. He did this on Telegram, muting toxic threads to clear his head. You can too. On X, mute keywords tied to divisive topics or set time limits for scrolling. Replace echo chambers with diverse sources, like reputable journals or fact-checking sites like Snopes. It's not about isolation, it's about clarity. A broader lens, we're all detectives. The cognitive funnel isn't just about misbelievers, it's about all of us. Irrational's own story shows this. Targeted as a conspirator, he felt the urge to dismiss his accusers as crazy. But his scientific curiosity won out, leading him to study their cognitive traps and his own. He realized he, too, had biases, like when he ignored early critiques of a research project, convinced he was right. This humility is the chapter's heart. We're all selective detectives, but we can choose to broaden our investigation. One story lingers. Irrational describes a misbeliever, Anna, who emailed him about vaccine chips. Instead of arguing, he asked her to explain the technology. Her vague response, she'd seen it on X, revealed her shallow understanding. The exchange didn't change her mind, but it opened a dialogue, a crack in the funnel's walls. It's a reminder. Cognitive biases bind us, but curiosity can free us. Closing the chapter. The cognitive elements of the funnel of misbelief, confirmation bias, false confidence, and the illusory truth effect, are a mind's quiet betrayal, leading us to truths we want, not truths that are. Irrational's journey, from vilified professor to empathetic researcher, shows their power and their antidote. By seeking contradictory evidence, testing our understanding, and limiting repetitive falsehoods, we can resist the cognitive spiral. Sarah, Anna, even ourselves, we're not doomed to the funnel's echo chamber. Our minds are flawed, but they're also capable of questioning, learning, and connecting. In a world drowning in information, that's a detective's greatest tool. Chapter 4. Personality Elements. Who's susceptible? Picture a kaleidoscope, each twist revealing patterns in the chaos, shapes that seem to whisper secrets only you can hear. For some, this knack for seeing connections is a gift. For others, it's a gateway to the funnel of misbelief, pulling them into irrational convictions with magnetic force. In Misbelief, What Makes Rational People Believe Irrational Things? Dan Irrational unveils how personality traits, patternicity, magical ideation, and narcissism shape who falls deepest into this funnel. We'll explore why some minds are more vulnerable, learn practical ways to guard against these tendencies, and meet stories that show how our personalities can both betray and empower us. The personality puzzle, why some fall deeper. The funnel of misbelief, Aureli explains, is a psychological spiral driven by emotion, cognition, personality, and social forces. Personality is the wild card, the lens that colors how we interpret the world. In July 2020, Aureli became a target of this funnel when Sharon, a former colleague, accused him of masterminding a COVID-19 conspiracy. Online, his half-beard, a scar from a teenage burn injury, was spun into a sinister symbol, his speeches twisted to prove he was a globalist villain. Why did some latch onto these absurd claims? Aureli, a behavioral economist, points to personality traits that make certain individuals more susceptible to misbeliefs pull. Patternicity, the tendency to see meaningful patterns in random data, is a key driver. Aureli draws on studies of alien abductees, who often score high on this trait, weaving vivid narratives from vague memories. His accusers saw patterns in his appearance and work, linking his burn scars to malevolence. Magical ideation, a belief in unseen forces or hidden meanings, amplifies this, making conspiracies feel plausible. Narcissism, too, plays a role. Those with inflated self-importance crave unique knowledge, casting themselves as truth seekers in a deceived world. These traits, heightened by stress, turn the funnel into a personal magnet. Patternicity, seeing what isn't there. Patternicity is a survival instinct gone rogue. Our ancestors needed to spot predators in rustling leaves, but in modern chaos, this trait can misfire. Aureli's accusers saw his half-beard and government projects as clues to a grand plot, much like stargazers see constellations in scattered lights. Research from his Center for Advanced Hindsight shows that people high in patternicity are more likely to endorse conspiracies, from 5G causing COVID to flat Earth theories. Stress, like that of the pandemic, dials this trait up, making random events feel orchestrated. Magical ideation adds a mystical layer. Those who score high believe in telepathy, secret codes, or hidden agendas. Aureli recounts a Telegram user who claimed his burn scars were a mark of the elite, a magical sign of his role in a shadowy cabal. This isn't madness. It's a mind seeking meaning in a fractured world, where vaccines or masks become tools of control in an imagined narrative. Narcissism, the need to be special. Narcissism fuels the funnel by making misbelief a badge of honor. Aureli notes that those with narcissistic tendencies, craving admiration or uniqueness, embrace conspiracies to feel superior. They're not just believers. They're enlightened, privy to truths the sheep can't see. His accusers on X boasted of exposing him, their posts dripping with self-congratulation. Studies show narcissists are drawn to exclusive knowledge, from secret societies to anti-vaccine research, because it elevates them above the crowd. Yet, Aureli cautions, these traits aren't alien. They're human, existing on a spectrum. We all seek patterns under stress, flirt with magical thinking, or crave uniqueness. The question is how to keep these tendencies from pulling us into the funnel's depths. Examples: personality in the funnel. Meet Emily, a fictional character inspired by Aureli's research. Emily, a graphic designer in 2020, was laid off during COVID-19. Her knack for spotting patterns, honed in her creative work, turned to X posts claiming the pandemic was a hoax. She noticed clues, news reports aligning too neatly, mask mandates rolling out in sync. Her magical ideation kicked in, interpreting these as signs of a globalist plot. Posting her findings online, she felt a narcissistic thrill. Her followers called her a truth warrior. Emily wasn't irrational. Her personality, amplified by stress, made the funnel's pull irresistible. A real-world case echoes this: the QAnon movement. Followers, often high in patternicity, saw cryptic Q drops as coded truths about a deep state. Magical ideation fueled beliefs in satanic rituals, while narcissism drove their mission to wake others. By 2021, Cannon's personality-driven fervor led to the Capitol riot, with believers like the QAnon shaman embracing their role as enlightened rebels. Aureli's own vilification fit this mold. His accusers, seeking patterns in his work, cast themselves as heroes exposing a villain. How to counter personality traps. Practical steps. Irrational's insights offer a roadmap to resist the personality funnel. Here are 3 hopefully helpful steps drawn from his experience and research. Check your patterns. Patternicity thrives on snap judgments. Irrational suggests a reality check exercise. When you spot a connection, write it down and ask, could this be random? Emily might have paused if she questioned whether mask mandates were just public health, not a plot. Try it. Next time you see a sign, say, a politician's odd phrasing, list alternative explanations. This slows the rush to conspiracies, grounding you in reason. Ground magical thinking. Magical ideation loves the mystical. Irrational recommends anchoring beliefs in evidence. When a Telegram user tied his scars to the Illuminati, he countered with his burned story, humanizing himself. You can do this. If a theory feels too perfect, like a hidden code, search for primary sources. Use sites like PubMed or Snopes to test claims. Asking, what's the simplest explanation, cuts through the fog of magical thinking. Humble your inner narcissist. Narcissism craves uniqueness, but humility defuses it. Irrational practiced this by admitting his own biases, like when he clung to a flawed project idea. Reflect on moments you felt above others, then challenge that pride. Share a doubt with a friend or join a diverse group, like a book club, to hear other views. For you, it could mean posting less about truths on X and listening more. Humility keeps the funnel at bay. A deeper truth. Personality is power. The personality funnel reveals a paradox. The traits that make us vulnerable also make us human. Irrational's story embodies this. Vilified as a conspirator, he could have dismissed his accusers as delusional. Instead, he studied their patterns, finding empathy in their need for meaning. His own personality, shaped by surviving a burn injury, fueled his curiosity, not hate. One interaction stands out. A misbeliever, John, claimed Irrational's work hid a code. By sharing his real story, Irrational softened John's certainty, if only slightly. It's a reminder. Our personalities can trap us, but they can also free us through understanding. This applies beyond conspiracies. We all see patterns in arguments, indulge in magical thinking about luck, or crave recognition. Recognizing these traits empowers us to pause, reflect, and choose clarity over chaos. Closing the chapter. The personality elements of the funnel of misbelief, patternicity, magical ideation, and narcissism are a mirror to our minds, revealing why some fall deeper into irrational beliefs. Irrational's journey, from targeted scholar to empathetic explorer, shows their power and their antidote. By checking our patterns, grounding magical thinking, and humbling our inner narcissist, we can resist the funnel's pull. Emily, John, and even ourselves, we're not defined by our traits, but by how we wield them. In a world of noise and division, that choice is our greatest strength, a step toward a clearer, kinder reality. Chapter 5. Social Elements, Tribalism and Ostracism. Imagine a campfire in a vast, lonely night, its warmth drawing you into a circle of voices that echo your fears, your hopes, your truths. This is the social heart of the funnel of misbelief, where belonging becomes a powerful glue for irrational beliefs. In Misbelief, What Makes Rational People Believe Irrational Things? Dan Irrational reveals how tribalism, ostracism, and social proof pull us deeper into the funnel, turning skepticism into zeal. We'll explore the social forces that bind us to misbelief, learn practical ways to break free, and meet stories that show how our need for connection can both trap and liberate us. The social funnel, the power of belonging. The funnel of misbelief, Irrational explains, is a psychological spiral fueled by emotion, cognition, personality, and social dynamics. The social element is its glue, transforming individual doubts into collective convictions. In July 2020, Irrational experienced this firsthand when he was branded a COVID-19 conspirator. An email from Sharon led him to Telegram channels where thousands vilified him, twisting his behavioral research into proof of globalist plots. His attempts to clarify, posting about his work on mask incentives, were met with a digital mob shouting liar. Why? Because the group's cohesion depended on rejecting him. To belong, they had to believe. Irrational, a behavioral economist, points to three social drivers: tribalism, ostracism, and social proof. Tribalism offers identity, turning believers into a we against a they. Ostracism enforces loyalty. Doubt the group's truth, and you're out. Social proof, the sense that everyone believes this, cements misbelief, making it feel undeniable. During COVID-19, isolation from lockdowns pushed people toward online tribes, where conspiracies about vaccines or 5G became badges of belonging. The funnel's social pull is fierce because it taps a primal need to be part of a pack. Tribalism, the tribe that defines you. Tribalism is the funnel's foundation. Aureli describes how online communities, from X to Parler, became havens for those feeling alienated. COVID-19 restrictions, closed schools, shuttered bars, left people craving connection. Conspiracy groups filled the void, offering purpose and identity. Believing in a deep state or vaccine chips wasn't just about facts. It was about being part of a tribe fighting evil. Aureli's Telegram attackers formed such a tribe, their shared outrage at him a ritual of belonging. Posts calling him a globalist pawn racked up likes, reinforcing the group's bond. Social acceleration, where beliefs escalate to signal loyalty, tightens this grip. Aureli notes how mild vaccine skepticism morphed into wild claims of microchip surveillance as members competed to prove their commitment. The birds aren't real satire, a fake conspiracy about drones replacing birds, shows this dynamic. Its absurd premise fostered a playful tribe, but real conspiracies use the same mechanics to deadly effect. Ostracism and social proof, the cost of doubt. Ostracism is the tribe's enforcer. Question the group's belief, and you risk exile, a fate humans dread, wired as we are for social bonds. Aureli experienced this on Telegram. His clarifications threatened the group's narrative, earning him a flood of insults. Cognitive dissonance fuels this. When beliefs are challenged, believers double down to avoid admitting error, and the group cheers them on. A misbeliever who wavered on vaccine conspiracies might face shunning, pushing them deeper into the funnel to reclaim their place. Social proof, meanwhile, makes misbelief feel universal. Seeing others share a theory, like masks are mind control, on X or Reddit creates a bandwagon effect. Aureli cites studies showing that repeated exposure to a claim, even if false, boosts its credibility. His accusers leaned on this, citing thousands of posts exposing him as proof he was guilty. The more likes, the truer it felt. Examples: the social funnel at work. Meet Carlos, a fictional character drawn from Aureli's observations. Carlos, a barista in 2020, felt isolated during lockdowns. On X, he found a group claiming COVID was a government hoax. The tribe welcomed him, their memes and manifestos offering camaraderie. Tribalism gave him purpose. Sharing anti-mask posts earned him clout. When he questioned a claim, the group mocked him, and the threat of ostracism stung. Social proof, hundreds of retweets, convinced him the hoax was real. Soon, Carlos was rallying against scientists like Aureli, his identity tied to the tribe. He wasn't irrational. He was lonely, and the funnel's social warmth was hard to resist. A real-world case mirrors this: the anti-vaccine Freedom Convoy in Canada, 2022. Truckers and supporters, alienated by mandates, formed a tribe on Telegram and Facebook. Their belief that vaccines were a government overreach grew through shared protests and viral videos. Doubters faced ostracism. One member was banned for citing CDC data. Social proof, with millions of X posts hashtag Freedom Convoy, made their cause feel righteous. Aureli's vilification fit this pattern. His work with governments made him a tribal enemy, his beard a meme of elite evil. How to counter social traps, practical steps. Aureli's insights offer a way to resist the social funnel. Here are 3 hopefully helpful steps, grounded in his research and experience. Diversify your tribe. Tribalism thrives in echo chambers. Aureli suggests joining diverse groups, local clubs, hobby forums, or even X accounts with opposing views to broaden your social lens. He did this, engaging with misbelievers to understand their world. For Carlos, a hiking group might have offered connection beyond conspiracies. Try it. Follow 5X accounts with different perspectives or join a community event. New tribes dilute the funnel's pull. Embrace safe doubt. Ostracism fears silence us, but Aurelie recommends testing doubts in low-stakes ways. Share a question with a trusted friend, not the group. When he posted on Telegram, Aurelie framed his clarifications as curiosity, not confrontation, softening some responses. You can too. If a theory feels off, ask a neutral party, "What do you think?" Or research quietly. Small doubts, safely explored, weaken the group's grip. Here at Social Proof. Social proof distorts truth, so curate your information diet. Aurelie muted toxic Telegram threads, focusing on credible sources. You can do this. Unfollow accounts that spam unverified claims or use fact-checking sites like PolitiFact. On X, search for primary sources, government reports, peer-reviewed studies, before retweeting. Ask, is this post popular because it's true or because it's loud? Clarity, not likes, guides you out. A deeper truth. Connection is our strength. The social funnel thrives on our need to belong, but it also reveals our shared humanity. Aurelie's story shows this. Vilified as a conspirator, he could have shunned his accusers. Instead, he joined their chats, listening to their fears. One misbeliever, Maria, raged about his globalist ties, but softened when he shared his burn injury story. She didn't abandon her beliefs, but she saw him as human. It's a reminder, tribes divide us, but connection, through empathy, not argument, can bridge the gap. This applies to everyday life. We all cling to tribes, political parties, fandoms, or workplace cliques, fearing ostracism if we stray. Recognizing this frees us to seek broader connections, to question without fear. The social funnel is strong, but our capacity for diverse, authentic bonds is stronger. Closing the chapter. The social elements of the funnel of misbelief, tribalism, ostracism, and social proof, are a campfire's seductive glow, drawing us into beliefs that feel like home. Aurelie's journey, from digital villain to empathetic listener, reveals their power and their antidote. By diversifying our tribes, embracing safe doubt, and curating social proof, we can resist the funnel's pull. Carlos, Maria, and even ourselves, we're not bound to echo chambers, but to each other, through curiosity and connection. In a world fractured by tribes, that's a fire worth kindling, one that lights the way to a shared truth. Chapter 6. Trust and the Path Forward. Imagine a world where every handshake feels like a gamble, every headline a potential lie. Trust, once the invisible thread weaving society together, frays under the weight of misinformation and division. In Misbelief, what makes rational people believe irrational things? Dan Aurelie identifies trust as both the casualty and the cure for the funnel of misbelief. We'll journey through the erosion of trust that fuels irrational beliefs, discover practical steps to rebuild it, and meet stories that show how empathy and curiosity can light the way forward in a fractured world. The crisis of trust, a funnel's fuel. The funnel of misbelief, driven by emotion, cognition, personality, and social forces, thrives in a low-trust environment. Aurelie learned this painfully in July 2020 when he was branded a COVID-19 conspirator. An email from Sharon, a former colleague, led him to Telegram channels where his behavioral research was twisted into evidence of globalist schemes. His half-beard, a scar from a teenage burn injury, became a meme of villainy. When he tried to clarify his work, simple projects like mask incentives, the group dismissed him, citing distrust in scientists, media, and institutions. "You're part of the system," they sneered. Their rejection wasn't just personal, it was a symptom of a broader trust deficit. Aurelie, a behavioral economist, calls trust society's lubricant, easing cooperation and understanding. But COVID-19 eroded it. Lockdowns fueled suspicion of governments. Conflicting health advice bred cynicism about experts like Fauci or the CDC. Misinformation, amplified by X posts and YouTube videos, painted institutions as pawns of elites. Aurelie's accusers trusted anonymous truthers over peer-reviewed data, a choice rooted in a world where trust had crumbled. This crisis, he argues, isn't just about conspiracies. It's about all of us, when distrust makes us cling to comforting lies over complex truths. The cost of distrust, a divided world. Distrust doesn't just fuel misbelief, it fractures society. Ariely recounts how his accusers saw the WHO as a tool of control, not a health organization. One, Sarah, called him, demanding he confess to globalist plots. Her distrust was visceral. She believed media hid vaccine deaths, citing X posts over official reports. This reflects a broader trend. A 2021 survey showed only 43% of Americans trusted mainstream news, down from 70% in the 1970s. When trust fades, misbelief fills the void, turning neighbors into enemies and facts into weapons. Yet, Ariely found glimmers of hope. Engaging with misbelievers, he became an anthropological guide, listening to their fears. Sarah, for instance, revealed her worry for her kids in a corrupt system. That vulnerability was a crack in her distrust, a chance to rebuild. Trust, Ariely argues, is rebuildable, not through grand gestures, but through small, human acts of empathy and transparency. Examples: trust lost and found. Meet Aisha, a fictional character inspired by Ariely's observations. Aisha, a nurse in 2020, worked grueling shifts during COVID-19. Exhausted, she saw X posts claiming vaccines were experimental poisons. Distrustful of Big Pharma after past scandals, she joined an anti-vaccine group, finding solace in their shared skepticism. The group's social proof, thousands of likes on conspiracy posts, outweighed her hospital's data. When a colleague urged her to vaccinate, Aisha snapped. You trust the system? Her misbelief wasn't ignorance. It was a shield against a world she no longer trusted. But when a patient shared a personal vaccine story, Aisha's distrust softened, a reminder that human connection can pierce the funnel. A real-world case underscores this. The 2020 U.S. election stopped the steal movement. Distrust in electoral systems, fueled by X posts and fringe media, convinced millions the election was rigged. Supporters, citing evidence, like viral videos of ballot bins, rejected official audits. Their tribe's chants at rallies became truth, culminating in the January 6th Capitol riot. Ariely's own vilification echoed this. His accusers trusted Telegram exposés over his research, their distrust a spark for the funnel's fire. How to rebuild trust, practical steps. Ariely's insights offer a blueprint to restore trust and resist the funnel. Here are 3 hopefully helpful steps, drawn from his experience. Led with empathy. Distrust often stems from feeling unheard. Ariely practiced deep canvassing, listening to misbelievers' fears without judgment. With Sarah, he asked about her life, not her theories, building a bridge. You can too. When someone spouts a conspiracy, ask, what makes you feel this way? Reflect their emotions, e.g., it sounds like you're worried about losing control. Empathy doesn't mean agreement. It means humanizing the other, sowing seeds of trust. Model transparency. Institutions and individuals rebuild trust by being open. Ariely shared his research openly on X, admitting uncertainties. You can model this. If you share a claim, cite your source, say, a CDC report, and acknowledge its limits. In conversations, admit when you don't know something. Transparency disarms distrust, showing you're not hiding. Try it. Next time you debate, say, here's what I know, but I could be wrong. What do you think? Build trust through action. Trust grows through shared experiences. Ariely suggests small, collective acts, like community projects, that foster connection. He joined misbeliever chats, not to argue, but to understand, creating tiny trust moments. You can do this. Volunteer at a local event, join a diverse discussion group, or fact-check a claim with a friend. On X, engage with opposing views calmly, asking questions over preaching. Actions, not words, rebuild trust's foundation. A deeper truth, trust is human. The trust crisis powering the funnel reveals a profound truth. We're all vulnerable to distrust, but we're also capable of rebuilding it. Ariely's story embodies this. Vilified as a conspirator, he faced threats, yet chose curiosity over anger. One misbeliever, Tom, accused him of vaccine plots, but softened when Ariely shared his burn injury story, a human moment that cut through distrust. It wasn't a full conversion, but it was a start. This applies to us all. When we distrust a coworker, a politician, or a news outlet, we risk the funnel's pull. But by listening, being open, and acting together, we can mend the threads of trust. Arlie draws inspiration from Superman, not for superpowers, but for human traits: empathy, curiosity, persistence. These, he argues, are our tools to bridge divides, even in a world of AI-driven misinformation and polarized tribes. Closing the chapter. The funnel of misbelief thrives on distrust, turning uncertainty into division. Arlie's journey, from targeted professor to empathetic guide, shows its cost and its cure. By leading with empathy, modeling transparency, and building trust through action, we can resist the funnel's pull. Aisha, Tom, and even ourselves, we're not condemned to a distrustful world but invited to rebuild it, one conversation, one act at a time. Trust is fragile, but it's also resilient, a human gift that can mend what's broken. In a world of parallel truths, that's a path worth walking toward a reality we can share. Conclusion: a hopeful lens on a fractured world. Misbelief is more than a study of conspiracy theories. It's a mirror reflecting our shared humanity. Arlie's journey from vilified professor to empathetic researcher reveals that misbelief isn't a flaw of others, but a potential in us all. The funnel of misbelief, driven by stress, cognitive biases, personality traits, and social dynamics, exploits universal needs for control and connection. Yet, understanding this process offers hope. By fostering empathy, practicing intellectual humility, and resisting the urge to ostracize, we can mitigate misbelief's spread and rebuild trust. Arlie's personal transformation is the book's heart. Despite the pain of being demonized, he humanizes his accusers, finding optimism in their willingness to engage. This isn't a simple fix. Misinformation, amplified by AI and polarization, is a formidable foe. But Arlie's framework empowers us to act, starting with ourselves. Question your beliefs, listen to those you disagree with, and build communities of trust. In a world of parallel universes, these small steps can bring us closer to a shared reality. As Arlie writes, we are each, in our own ways, misbelievers. But by understanding why, we can choose a path of curiosity over division, hope over hate. This is the legacy of misbelief, a call to see the world and each other with clearer eyes. End of summary. I hope that you've enjoyed this video, and please remember to subscribe to receive notification of upcoming recordings. See you in next video.